Good evening. I'm Jason Ward from MakingStarWars.net. Today I'm going to be talking about Benioff and Weiss leaving Star Wars. I think it's a huge bummer. You know, I wanted to see what those guys were going to do. I mean, the Game of Thrones series was badass, and the only thing that people had a problem with was the end because it was rushed. And, you know, I get it. I also really wanted to see what those people did with Star Wars, though. So many people involved with Game of Thrones have come and done Star Wars stuff now, from, you know, Captain Phasma to the Sword Master, like all that kind of stuff. So it would have been cool. So I'm bummed about it. Essentially, what I heard was that Benioff and Weiss leaving Lucasfilm or Star Wars or Disney or whatever was the most amicable of the departures. In my opinion, they understood that $250 million is a lot of money, and why would they not take it? So I get it. I think they did too. And I don't know if that's what they really wanted, though. Because when you think about it, like, Game of Thrones was a really good series, and then the end was highly criticized. So you would kind of want a big win. And you really can't get a big win just doing Netflix shows, unless you do a show that's as big as Game of Thrones and you top it, but that's not going to happen. And so Star Wars would make the most sense. But I also think if you bombed the end of Game of Thrones, then went and did Star Wars, and it didn't connect, and it was highly criticized, then you wouldn't be getting $250 million Netflix deals after that. So I could see why they took it. I think it makes sense. I'm bummed. I think ultimately we lose, the fans. A lot of people didn't really want them involved, and fair enough, but I would really rather just see what everybody does with Star Wars than not. And that's why people keep asking me, is Rian Johnson's stuff next? And I don't know. Is Feige's next? I don't know. I mean, I think it would be cool. I want to see more Rian Johnson, but I also want to see more people I haven't seen before, too. And Kevin Feige produced Star Wars. Like, that could be cool. Or it just might be like, what does Star Wars look like when it's like everything else in a real pop culture way? And Star Wars is everything else, but also isn't. So I feel like that about the Marvel films. I like them. I enjoy them. I take my kids to see them. We have a good time. But I also don't really feel a strong connection. I don't really feel much about them other than the moment of fun I have when they come out. And it's nice to not be obsessed with something like I am about Star Wars. So it's kind of, I want to keep it that way too. Do I think it's Kathleen Kennedy's fault and the criticisms of her? That's a weird one, because what could she have done? She could have foresaw that Benioff and Weiss were hot and that other people were going to try to court them away. But how could she know? How could she know Netflix was going to come and give them a $250 million deal? So do we want Kathleen Kennedy going for the most popular, the hottest people making stuff, or do we want her going after people who you don't know about, who then she hires and then you get nervous about it? So it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. All of these situations with her, with Kathleen Kennedy, and people exiting have been unique, though. It's not like people, the eventuality is people leave, or they're pushed out either on purpose or because they don't want to deal with it. But every single one has been different. The same problem hasn't come up twice. They've all been, everyone from the Gareth Edwards situation to Colin Trevorrow, and I believe his writing partner, and then the Josh Trank was having a meltdown on another major studio film, and I would assume making Kinberg pretty mad since Kinberg had gone to bat for him. And then Lord and Miller, there's a lot out there about what happened there. The only thing I ever heard about them was that they were being told to shoot more coverage, and they weren't doing it. After being told, do it, they weren't doing it, and it was to protect the movie that they were going to make. And that didn't work for them. And I think they knew eventually that their movie was going to be reworked no matter what. So leaving was the only option. Is it honorable? I kind of think so. I mean, a lot of bad movies come out. Most movies we go see are not as good as The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, Solo, Rogue One. They're just not. You could not like those movies as Star Wars movies, but they are still exceptional as corporately produced popcorn movies. They are still really good on that. They're not like Independence Day. They're not just throwaway films, and I'm sure I'm gonna get hate for that. But they're doing their best. And I would rather have somebody in charge at Lucasfilm as the president who will push people out, fire people, or whatever, than somebody who says, you know what? We started this project. It's not up to the Star Wars name, not up to the Star Wars quality, but we're still going to put it out. Because you could not like the new movies. It's totally cool. I respect your opinion on that. But you can also not act like they are shoddily made and that there's no thought into them and that the art isn't beautiful. And, so we see a lot of movies that are just like that John Boyega movie he just did with the robots. I can't remember what it's called. It was garbage. And Star Wars movies haven't been that way. So I think it's I think we should give her a break, honestly. I also think, because we want these movies to be exceptional. We demand that they are. So if Kathleen Kennedy is going to live up to that aspect, that demand that we, the fans, make, this stuff is going to happen. She's going to have to go after the best people who we could lose, which we just did. Also, the people with the most promise, but people with promise doesn't mean that they're going to deliver on promise either. They're going to do their best, but it doesn't mean that they are. And that's when we end up with a Gareth Edwards and Tony Gilroy situation, presumably. Since we haven't seen Edwards' cut, we don't know. And they've been so secretive about that. I thought I had a scoop I was wrong about, because I was told the Rogue One director was coming back for the Cassian show. Not Tony Gilroy. I assumed Gareth Edwards. And it made sense. And I also saw that Gareth Edwards has some credits because of, I guess, his development process with it, perhaps. But then it ended up being as Tony Gilroy who came back. So it makes sense. And the reason why I bring this up is I think that the Donaham, I think that's how it's said, I'm butchering it, I'm sure, but the Donaham Studios that is being built in the UK, well, it's run into some problems because of Brexit. And that means productions like Cassian, which were supposed to film there, and the Benioff and Weiss movies. So I got a feeling that played into it in some way too. It was at least a complication. And so until Brexit is dealt with, I guess, from what I understand, that studio is kind of just on hold for now. And we'll hopefully they can get it done and things are all okay. One of the reasons, by the way, for Benioff and Weiss leaving was supposedly toxic fandom. That makes sense. I think it was ultimately that $250 million. I think anybody who wants to act like toxic fandom was completely it just wants to really throw it out there and bring to attention how crappy a lot of the fandom can be. Because a lot of you guys are shitty. It's just the fact. A lot of you guys are the best. Like, I met some of my best friends ever in the Star Wars fandom, and I've also seen the worst of people in it as well. So it's completely makes sense. I mean, it's just kind of people. Star Wars is huge, so you get a lot of people together, and then you get some crappy people. But definitely a silver lining, I think. But I also think that Benioff and Weiss left Game of Thrones with the controversy of it not living up to expectations at the end. So if they had come and delivered on Star Wars, I think that would have elevated them and made that fall off, and people would have been like, wow, these guys rock. Instead, though, they're walking away from it to go do more cable, and more cable is not going to really produce more for them. It's not going to help. It's not going to undo that. Sorry, I said cable, streaming. And it's just going to, nothing's going to be as big as Game of Thrones, just like nothing has really been as big as Lost. But, Abrams went and Lost had an ending like that too, even though Abrams really had nothing to do with it. People don't know that because he's credited. And, but also Star Trek 2 sucked. And Force Awakens kind of made us stop talking about Khan and Star Trek 2 sucking. So do I think Feige is up next? I don't know. Be cool. I'm cool with those like little standalone kind of movies, and I think it would be cool if the Feige movie was a standalone movie, and if it spawns more, it spawns more. The Rian Johnson one, I would love to see them finish. Like I said, I would like to see more original people coming in or new people we haven't seen movies from. But I think Rian Johnson's one of the best directors out there, so I'm up for it. If he'll come back, I think it would be good. I think a lot of you would like it a lot more too if he wasn't dealing with Princess Leia or General Leia and Luke Skywalker and characters that you've grown up loving, and they were all original new characters. I think Rian would be okay for most of you. Mando trailer was rad. I loved it. People ask me, did you think the timing of that Mando trailer release was funny? Well, I had heard that they had left back in August, and I didn't know that until came out. But I had heard that they had left back in August, so I think the Mando trailer was going to come out anyways, and then I think that they thought, let's release the Mando trailer, let that story come out, that way the fans don't feel like everything's being taken from them. We're getting this really sexy, rad Mando trailer, and then, oh, we're not getting the Benioff and Weiss movie. But we're buzzing about the Star Wars. So I think that was like the thought. If the Mando trailer hadn't connected, then that would have been a big backfire. On a completely side note, though, for the Disney Plus side of things, I have Verizon, and I use the unlimited plan for data, and they just texted me today going, hey, we're going to give you Disney Plus for free for a year. I'd already actually subscribed to it, so I'm going to go on subscribe, and then I signed up for it, and I got an email back saying, we're going to send you something to activate when the service launches. So if you have Verizon, make sure you follow through on that, because why pay for Mandalorian if you're going to get it for free for having their phone service anyway? On a side note, MakingStarWars.net has been down for like a week. It's not because of any vast Disney conspiracy or anything like that. It's simply that our old server sucked. It was terrible, as many of you know, and we're moving it over to a new one, but our database is huge because there's been so many articles in the last 7 years or whatever it's been, 5 years, and so we're trying to get it to the new server, and so hopefully it's back up really soon. And I bought a new camera for making these videos, not this one, but it's coming. So I'll have a little microphone and a new camera, so I'll be able to make some higher quality videos, because this has been fun and I've been enjoying it. And I also made a record about the internet and Star Wars, so if you want to check that out, it's called For Traculate and Sexual Intellectuals. It's kind of a punky, new wave kind of thing, so if you dig that kind of shit, I made it in my room in the podcast studio, so it's pretty DIY, but I'm pretty proud of it, and I like writing songs when I'm not talking about Star Wars, and like playing guitar when I'm not talking about Star Wars. So that's what I do with my time when I'm not doing this. That said, thanks guys for sticking around, watching my videos, and all of your support. Also, about that last video, I knew that the Falcon dish was knocked off in the Last Jedi, but in canon after that, the Falcon rectangle dish comes back. It's in Galaxy's Edge. It's in, all kinds of appearances. So that was why I proposed that theory, and I thought we would all be on the same page, but we weren't. So my mistake. That's what is weird for me about making videos compared to making articles. Sometimes I'll put an article out, and in 2 seconds I see like people going, well, what about? And I'm able to solve the what abouts. On a video, you just got to be like, keep telling me about your what about it. It wasn't that I wasn't aware. It was simply that there needs to be a canon explanation, and maybe because it happened in the Last Jedi, and then we just have the old one back, maybe that will just be the screen explanation, and then the books will have them lose it again, and blah blah blah. So that's probably the most likely explanation in the end, but I did find a space for it, and there is a reason. There is something that happens in the movie that hasn't been explained yet by any of the leaks, other than the fact that I know it happens from the Black Part reporting. So we'll see. Like I said, it was just a fun video, something to do, and a lot of people took it very seriously, but that's fandom, I guess. So new camera's coming pretty soon. Made a record, check it out. New server for MakingStarWars.net should be up pretty soon. I'm bummed about Benioff and Weiss leaving. That sucks, but at the same time, I guess running at something else They should probably announce after episode 9. That's cool. And let's enjoy The Mandalorian. Let's enjoy episode 9. On the other side of that, start asking what's next, and hopefully they don't make us wait too long. And I know for Solo, they were going to announce the Kenobi movie as the Solo movie was rocking it, and it didn't rock it, so they just didn't do it. I would imagine that would be their plan this time, though. They have to slate something, and I would imagine episode 9 will deliver. I mean, the pre-sales have been pretty strong. The conspiracy theorists who say that Disney's buying the tickets are high. That is crazy. That said, I would imagine if that was their plan then, that was their game, that'll be their game this time. So I probably wouldn't expect any announcements until episode 9, but that's just a guess. That's not anything I've heard or whatever. And we got some spoilers lined up if the cards align. That leak that happened with the pictures recently has kind of made everybody a little bit higher, a little bit nervous, a little high intensity. So hopefully soon, though, we have some stuff that we're allowed to report, because the stuff I'm hearing is pretty rad. And Hayden Christensen, I don't know if he's in episode 9. I have no idea. I think it would be crazy if he wasn't. They would be stupid to not put him in. But I also can't tell you that he's in it. So that's just the way it is. But I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the show. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, like the video, and let me know what your thoughts are. I like reading the comments when they're sane. When they're a little insane, it makes me laugh too, so that's always a thing. But thanks for watching the videos, and I'll make another one soon. Why are you still here? It's over. Go. I'm done.